Baron Jerônimo. Tudo bom? Bem-vindo. Ei. Tudo bem? Sentem-se. I will now switch to Portuguese. Please use your headsets to keep listening in English. Então, quero que vocês contem para a gente, gostaram do fórum, que chamou a atenção de vocês, o que foi mais surpreendente?
Então, primeiramente, boa tarde a todos e a todas. Antes de começar a responder a pergunta, eu queria agradecer de coração pela oportunidade de estar aqui, representando os alunos do Senai São Paulo, nesse que é o fórum mais importante do mundo sobre economia circular. É algo que nunca imaginei que viveria aos 18 anos de idade. Estar ao lado de tantos nomes importantes, nacionais e internacionais. É uma honra. E também uma responsabilidade enorme. Confesso que nunca fiquei perto de tantas pessoas bonitas e elegantes. Nesses 2 dias de evento, eu tive contato com ideias, projetos, práticas e soluções que mostram como a economia circular já é uma realidade em muitos lugares do mundo e no Brasil. E que nós, estudantes e como futuros profissionais, temos um papel essencial nesse processo. Agora, respondendo a sua pergunta, algo que me surpreendeu bastante, inclusive na palestra de hoje. Uma das falas que mais me marcou sobre o painel, conectando esforços globais e regionais para sistemas de comércio circular, que destacou o quão importante é esses acordos comerciais, que são como uma ferramenta importante e essencial para trazer a circularidade dentro de mais países, além de alimentar a competitividade necessária entre produtos lineares e produtos circulares, que a gente já sabe que são mais caros. Compreendemos também que a economia circular também é sobre respeitar os recursos naturais, repensar a forma como produzimos, como lidamos e com o que sobra. E, principalmente, entender que nada se perde, tudo pode se transformar. Outro ponto importante também foi perceber como diferentes setores, como empresas, governos, instituições de ensino e a sociedade estão cooperando para promover uma mudança de mentalidade geral no mundo. Poder passar a entender que a economia circular vai muito além da reciclagem, ela propõe um novo jeito de pensar, de produzir, de consumir, com responsabilidade e visão de futuro.
Ô, Vitor, você sabe que a gente, quando fala em economia circular, a gente costuma usar 10 R's, pelo menos 10 R's. Recuse, remanufature, reaproveite, e por aí vai. E você trouxe mais um R aqui hoje para a gente, que é respeite. Gostei da sua fala e eu quero ouvir a percepção da Ana também.
Boa tarde a todos. Para começar, eu quero dizer que foi um imenso prazer fazer parte desse evento tão importante. E eu estou radiante de alegria em ter tido essa oportunidade muito especial. Subir aqui me traz muita emoção e representar os alunos do Senai é uma grande realização, privilégio e honra para mim. Bom, nesses dias foi um evento muito importante que nos trouxe experiências incríveis. E o que me chamou a atenção foi essa ideia central de que nada se perde, tudo se transforma, que vai muito além do que reciclar. Trata-se de criar sistemas sustentáveis, onde os resíduos são reinseridos como recursos.
E é uma percepção nova, que muita gente não entende ainda, né? Uma questão que a gente tem que espalhar por aí. E aí, Vitor, como é que a economia circular vai ajudar vocês a partir de agora? Como você entende isso?
Então, eu, para ser sincero, nunca fui de pensar muito, né, nesse assunto de economia circular. Mas depois desse evento foi mais que um certificado. Ouvi tantos nomes nacionais e internacionais falando sobre tão a fundo e tão bonito. E algo que eu acho que vai me ajudar muito esse evento, nas minhas atitudes do dia a dia, com atitudes simples, sabe? De reaproveitar, de consertar, de separar corretamente o lixo, de verdade mesmo. Tem muita gente que fala que separa e não separa. E usar com consciência os recursos tão sagrados que a gente tem na nossa natureza. E também, falando um pouco sobre o Senai, a gente aprende muito, muito mesmo sobre economia circular. A gente tem muito esse pensamento de guardar os papéis que a gente usa numa caixa, não ficar, fizemos uma apresentação, vamos amassar todo esse papel e jogar no lixo. Não é somente isso. A gente tem essas atitudes de guardar o papel numa caixa, ele vai para uma empresa que cuida, que passa por diversos setores e volta como papel toalha para todas as unidades do Senai. E a gente também usa muito, ainda mais no nosso curso, circuitos eletrônicos, que a Ana vai falar também. A gente usa os materiais como alumínio, metal, sempre. Tudo que a gente usa, se alguma ferramenta enferrujou ou quebrou, não é que ela não é mais útil. A gente também tem a mesma atitude, a gente guarda essas ferramentas e leva para uma empresa que cuida e passa por um forno elétrico, a gente derrete para virar novos materiais úteis de novo. Então, com essa mesma ideia que eu falei no começo, né, de nada se perde e tudo se transforma.
E você, Ana?
A vai ajudar muito lá a gente no Senai, e eu separei uma parte aqui que ela não está ligada só ao reutilizar, né? Ela está ligada também a eu vou citar um componente eletrônico, a placa-mãe, na verdade, da eletrônica. Eu vou citar agora, pegar um link do nosso curso. A economia circular ela está ligada também, por exemplo, a não estragar, jogar fora a placa-mãe, e sim consertá-la. Não está ligada a não querer trocá-la, e sim recuperá-la. Isso serve também para outros componentes da eletrônica.
E eu vi aí que vocês fizeram várias anotações, né? Ficaram aqui interessadíssimos em tudo, mas vocês estão representando os alunos do Senai. E daqui para frente, e amanhã, como é que vocês pensam em compartilhar todos esses conteúdos que vocês aprenderam aqui?
Olha, como aluno do Senai, eu vejo que a gente está sendo preparado não apenas para o mercado de trabalho, mas sim para enfrentar desafios ambientais e sociais da vida. Participar desse fórum também reforçou muito o meu compromisso com a sustentabilidade e a busca de soluções mais eficientes. E falando mais sobre os alunos do Senai, a gente pensa muito e a gente tem vários grupos, né? Como foi citado em um dos painéis na OCA, no Beija-Flor, a gente tem, eles chamam empresas e a gente faz muito isso, de juntar grupos para resolver problemas, sabe? Então, a gente, com o conhecimento que a gente adquiriu hoje, eu acho que a gente vai com certeza ser o líder do nosso grupo, porque, como eu falei, isso é mais que um certificado. Tudo que a gente aprendeu, tudo se resolve nas pequenas atitudes do dia. E não só nisso, é muito mais fundo do que a gente pensava. Então, é isso.
Essas palestras incríveis abriram nossa mente como alunos, né? E sobre a economia circular, tivemos noção de como ela depende de um esforço coletivo, de empresas, governos e sociedade, e para gerar soluções criativas e sustentáveis. Eu passaria para os meus colegas assim. Eu vou citar um exemplo que aconteceu comigo ano passado, onde a gente aprendeu a soldar. E foi o primeiro curso que eu estava mexendo com uma parte da eletroeletrônica. E o professor passou lá a soldinha, ensinou a gente a soldar os componentes. Daí a gente fez uma mini plaquinha para testar, para não desperdiçar, para testar. Daí a gente fez em duplo e tudo mais. Eu fiz uma mini plaquinha desse tamanho. E eu coloquei lá os componentes eletrônicos. E o professor falou, ó, gente, depois vocês pegam e colocam nessa caixinha que a gente vai descartar, vai fazer outra coisa com ela, mas vocês não vão mais usar. Eu me apaguei pela plaquinha. Eu gostei muito dessa plaquinha, porque foi a primeira vez que eu soldei. Eu peguei ela, tinha um furinho, e eu levei para casa, coloquei um suportezinho de chaveiro e virou um chaveiro. Isso é a sustentabilidade. Em vez de jogar fora, eu fiz um chaveiro e está na minha bolsa. E imagina, eu vou passar isso para os meus colegas também, que não é que nem tem as lixeiras tudo organizadinho, jogar tudo bonitinho. Tem gente que a gente pode ver, às vezes, que não colaboram nisso, porque ainda não teve essa noção, né? Mas a gente vai passar isso para eles também, para eles verem o quão incrível é.
Muito bacana, muito obrigada a vocês dois. Com a mente aberta, eu desejo que vocês sigam essa jornada, espalhando aí todos esses conteúdos que vocês aprenderam por aí, com muita consciência e coragem. Obrigada.
Muito obrigado, de verdade.
Tchau. Bem, ainda temos bastante conteúdo pela frente, e começando com 2 representantes dos organizadores do WCEF 2025. I now invite to the stage Mika Sulkinoya, Senior Lead of Sitra, and Davi Bontempo, Superintendent of Environment and Sustainability at CNE. So, I'd like to start first with you, Davi. What has it meant to Brazil and more widely to Latin America to host the forum here in Latin America?
To start, I'd like to say thank you, everyone, for having you here and participating in this high-level discussion. It was an amazing event with a lot of inputs, highlights, and high-level debates, so we can carry after that a nice quality information, and you can apply in other opportunities here. No? So I'd like to emphasize some international recognition, because I think it's very important for countries like Brazil. We have the advantages like our energy matrix, and the second position in biofuels, and of course we have water and biodiversity around 20%, 15% only in the Amazon. So the key is how to transform that in competitiveness, and how to reduce the cost, the price, and access, like someone said here before, the markets, the international markets. No? So the second point is about the public policies. I think this theme has guides a lot of panels here today and yesterday. So Brazil has the regulation right now. We have their strategy, has been launched last year in 2024. And this year we approved the plan, and we have a bill running in the Congress, almost done there. So we can focus right now in the implementation. So you have the components, and this forum in COP30 could be an opportunity to show to the world that Brazil could stay in a high position when you compare with the other countries.
We're ready to move into action. Yeah, and your perspective, Mika, of having the forum here in Latin America.
Yeah, thanks, Juliana, and it's a great honor to be here and in front of such a great audience. Indeed, we organized the first World Circular Economy Forum 2017 in Helsinki, and back then we thought it would be a one-time event, only once organized, but then I guess we did something right. We were asked to continue this journey, which continued to Japan. We went to Canada, worked with the government of the Netherlands, went to Africa 22, and then Brussels last year. So we've worked with many governments, many public sector organizations. But let me tell you a little story about the journey to Brazil, because I think it illustrates quite nicely what the forum is about. I actually learned this during the warm welcoming reception hosted by our Brazilian partners. It turned out that there were two experts, one from Sitra, name was Jyri Arponen, and one from FIES, also representing Volkswagen. And I actually spoke yesterday at the parallel session on mobility, Priscilla Roca. And they had exchanged the ideas at some of the early editions of the forum about what they can help in order to help industries in their respective countries, which discussion led to development of industrial playbooks in Finland. We helped the manufacturing industry, chemical industry, to look at the material inefficiencies, the circularity potential in their industries. And that tool has been actually scaled to various countries afterwards. But I think Priscilla, during those conversations, had the idea of bringing the forum at some point to Brazil and Sao Paulo. So two persons having this discussion, exchanging ideas, which is the real essence of the forum, led to something bigger, this forum. Another critical moment in time is the Forum 23 in Helsinki, when a gentleman called Khalil Filho approached us, representing also FIES. Khalil, who's nowadays my great friend like Davi here, asked us what it takes to put this type of a forum together and what sort of process it would be needed, and indicated interest to host the forum. I said to Khalil that it's great that industry is interested, and I had been aware of the exchanges between our experts. We also signaled that it would be very essential that the government is on board. And this discussion was held actually during the day one of the Forum 23 in Helsinki. We concluded the day two, and Khalil came to me, said that actually there was a discussion between the two presidents, President Lula of Brazil, President Niinistö at that time representing Finland, and they had nodded to the idea of bringing the forum to Brazil. And Khalil asked me, would this be a sufficient signal of us continuing? Afterwards, there were numerous discussions with the various ministries here in Brazil, especially with the Ministry of Development, Trade and Industries, which then led to endorsement letter from the Vice President Alkim. So for us, it was clear that this country is serious, doing serious business, being a clear forerunner, both in terms of private sector and the government. And with this story, I want to say two things, actually. So this forum is about bringing people together, like Priscilla and Jyri, at this idea, which then grew up something bigger. And then Khalil bringing private sector and the government together so that we can discuss the bottlenecks and scale-up potential of circular solutions. Final bonus point for me is that we're now living in the era of AI and digital platforms and Teams and Zooms and what have it, but still personal contacts matter. So convenings like this hopefully leave an impact. Final point is, Juliana, I would like to express gratitude. You have done a great job. You have led us through 2 days with elegance and inspiration.
I got emotional. Thank you so very much. Thank you. And Davi, what are the next steps in Latin America after the forum?
I'd like to say thank you again, Juliana, for your
so happy
participation
being here. No.
and of course the partnership with Sitra and Fiesp. It was amazing, and I think you can improve and make stronger this partnership in the future. No? So the question is, what about tomorrow?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we are finishing these events, but you need to move on in the next step. And I'd like to emphasize two words here, like implementation and collaboration. And that's why CNI launched in the last March Sustainable Business Corp. It's focused in implementation, in action. Of course, you have 8 pillars like energy, food systems, green skills, finance, but you have circular economy and materials. And right now we are designing some recommendations just to use in the negotiation, the Paris agreements, not only in Belém, but also in Bonn. And you have the opportunity to show how the companies are contributing for a low carbon economy. And that's why we are thinking it's very important to start right now. And implementation, I think it's the next step.
Thank you so very much. Thank you all for your reflections, most importantly for the initiative to make this forum so relevant to the world, a reality here in Latin America. And thank you. And indeed, the circular economy, the circular economy is a powerful tool for global development, and that also means enhance the growth and well-being of emerging economies. So I wanted to invite the Global Director of Climate Business from IFC, Jamie Ferguson.
Muy obrigado, Juliana, Mika, and Davi, and all the organisers, Sitra, the Finnish Innovation Fund, the Federation of Industries for the State of Sao Paulo, the Brazilian National Confederation of Industry, and the European Commission for bringing us all together. It's an honour to be a part of this community that's seeking to drive progress in the global circularity agenda. Boa tarde, everyone. As Juliana said, my name's Jamie Ferguson, and I'm from IFC, which is the private sector arm of the World Bank Group, which is committed to addressing poverty on a livable planet. Together, as we face the intertwined crises of poverty, fragility, climate, and biodiversity loss, the circular economy must not just be viewed as a sustainability imperative, but there's a smart way to drive economic development and $1 trillion economic opportunity. As the private sector arm of the World Bank Group, operating across more than 100 countries, IFC is increasingly focusing on its investments on that nexus between circular economy and private sector-led economic development. IFC has already committed over $1 billion to circular economy-related projects in more than 30 emerging market countries across the entire circularity life cycle. So what are those broader benefits of development from circularity investment? With global uncertainties and environmental pressures growing, businesses and governments are seeking resilient, forward-looking development strategies to drive inclusive growth, to create jobs, and to strengthen economic stability. Circular solutions do all of that and more. They create local jobs and inclusive growth. They provide important import substitution to improve the balance of payments and lower FX dependency. They increase competitiveness and innovation with resource efficiency and products that meet evolving border and trade restrictions, extend the life of natural resource endowments and increase value-added manufacturing. And they reduce waste with benefits to food security, public health, environmental impact, and even digital inclusion. Let me illustrate all of those with some of the exciting work by IFC's clients from around the world. Firstly, cost savings and innovation. By minimizing raw material inputs and eliminating waste through smart design, companies can lower costs and speed innovation. Circular models diversify supply chains, reduce resource risks, and spur innovation in product design, reuse systems, and service delivery. Just last month, IFC was proud to announce a $130 million investment in Magalu right here in Brazil, one of the largest retailers. This partnership supports Magalu's digital transformation while embedding circular economy principles in its business model. Structured with performance-based incentives in the financing, the investment will help the company increase e-waste recycling 5 times over in just 5 years. Brazil generates 2.1 million tons of electronic waste. I was just thinking that with the motherboard. 2.1 million tons annually, of which less than 4% is formally recycled. So this investment will help to address that problem while supporting Magalu's expanded e-commerce. Secondly, job creation and local economic development. Adopting circular practices could create up to 6 million jobs, especially in recycling, reuse, remanufacturing, and services that extend product life cycles. As my boss, the World Bank Group's president, Ajay Banga, keeps emphasizing, jobs are the most effective way to build self-sufficient economies, reduce humanitarian need, and create demand for goods. In Turkey, IFC extended a green loan to Sanko Textile to develop new textile recycling facility in an earthquake-affected region. Sanko will more than double its recycling capacity, transforming textile waste into high-quality fibers and generating 850 direct and 2,500 indirect jobs while recycling 200,000 tons per year. Thirdly, import substitution and economic resilience. Recycling domestically can lower imports, reducing exposure to commodity prices and FX volatility, and lowering demands on limited foreign currency reserves. In Ghana, local production of steel is just 315,000 tons versus annual demand of over 1 million. IFC invested in Ryder Steel to support the construction of an electric arc furnace, which will use scrap steel to produce 240,000 tons annually at 1/4 of the CO2 intensity of traditional blast furnace production, substituting 25% of demand with local supply versus imports. Fourthly, reduced impact on our threatened natural resources. IFC's first ever blue loan to Indorama Ventures is scaling bottle-to-bottle recycling across 5 countries in Asia and Latin America, including here in Brazil. This initiative will recycle up to 50 billion PET bottles annually, helping to prevent plastic waste from reaching our oceans and landfills. And lastly, to prove that I wasn't just exaggerating when I said food security and digital inclusion. Digital inclusion. China is the world's largest phone market with 2.5 billion phones in circulation and over 500 million sold annually. And back in 2011, just under 1% of that was recycled. IFC's early investment in AT Renew allowed them to scale a tech-enabled platform for collecting, refurbishing, and reselling used electronic devices, and to take their model global with an investment here in Brazil in Trocafone. A decade later, ATR has processed over 31 million used phones, redistributing them to lower-income communities to promote digital inclusion. And food security. 1/3 of all food produced globally is lost or wasted, the equivalent of 1.3 billion metric tons per year. And this is responsible for over 10% of global greenhouse gas emissions. IFC's investment in Appeal, a food science startup, supported the expanded adoption of its edible coating across developing countries to reduce food loss and reduce plastic wrapping use. As I hope you can see, these investments and our discussions this week at WCEF reflect a clear message. The circular economy is a smart business strategy, a big investment opportunity, and an important tool for smart economic development. But what will it take to expand this? Finance will play a catalytic role in advancing the circular economy, not just for scaling successful business models, but enabling the infrastructure and systems needed to support them. The trillions of dollars needed are far beyond the public purse, what the public purse can provide. Private markets and private capital will need to play an outsized role, and public funds must be used strategically to catalyze that. Attracting private sector investment for circular economy projects presents specific challenges. Circular economy investment sizes are often small, projects may not be considered financially viable, and virgin materials are often cheaper than recycled alternatives. Additionally, the participation of the informal sector, as we all just heard, adds risk and complexity for investors. Public policy must therefore prioritize efforts to address these barriers. Extended producer responsibility can play a key role by directing funding to waste projects and offsetting the cost of waste management to keep supply of recycled product available and affordable. Complementary policies such as mandated recycled content can drive demand and ensure commercial viability for projects. These policy shifts also have the potential to generate quality jobs and must be designed to ensure a just transition for all. The recently announced National Circular Economy Plan here in Brazil is a good example. Knowledge, capacity, standards, and data will also be critical. What gets measured gets delivered. Data on circular economy investment will be vital to track and support the growth of this space. And to start collecting data, we urgently need agreement on what constitutes a circular investment. Many companies and financial institutions still only associate the circular economy with recycling and waste management, whereas we all in this room know that there is a much wider range of circularity life cycle interventions that can offer circular and financial benefits. IFC has been busy in this space and has collaborated with public and private partners to harmonize circularity definitions and standards, to track and scale up private sector investment, and to address knowledge gaps. Tomorrow, we are launching the Harmonized Circular Economy Finance Guidelines. Do join us at the launch event to learn more about the eligibility criteria, qualitative and quantitative indicators, and how to quantify the finance with illustrative case studies. In closing, I hope I've convinced you that circular investments are just good economic development. But collaboration will be essential to seize this opportunity. Transitioning to a circular economy will require coordinated, multi-stakeholder action. This shift cannot be achieved by one actor alone. It demands simultaneous interventions by public, private, and civil society stakeholders. Public and private sector players must work together to create the right enabling environment for private investment, to build local capacity, and set the right policies. In a time when finance is increasingly limited, we must align our efforts and leverage one another's strengths. Only then can we accelerate the shift towards a circular economy. With this in mind, I'm pleased to turn over to our esteemed panelists who will explore how circular economy approaches are progressing around the globe. Over to you, Maika.
Thank you, Jamie. And let's move on to the next panel. I'd like to invite Beatriz Martins Carneiro, Regional Coordinator, UNEP. Dr. Von Sok, Assistant Director and Head of Environment Division, ASEAN. Davina Milengie, Chief Program Coordinator, Climate Change and Green Growth. Bernard Cabret, Head of Sector Environment and Circular Economy of European Commission. And to coordinate the panel, I'd like to invite back to stage Mika Sukinoya.
Thank you very much, Juliana. I will need to go back to the story I told, because I had written to my notes that remember Nelson. that is one important thought leader with whom I had discussions many times, giving perspectives to Brazil and Brazil's circular economy perspectives, and also more broadly in Latin America. So thank you very much, Nelson from FIESP, for those discussions and being a thought leader in this process. For us, regional alliances, as formation of regional alliances, has been one of the targets. So that we establish structures for regional collaboration. 2022, we worked very closely with Dawina and her team, with the African Circular Economy Alliance. And now, the first step after having discussions with FIESP and the government, the first partner we went to was Beatriz. Beatriz is representing Latin American Caribbean Coalition, who had established a working group covering the whole Latin America. And we asked what should be the topics to be discussed here at the forum. But I thought that we would have similar questions for each of you, and then take a look at the regions in question. And some deep dives to the acute matters and the progression of circular economy in different regions. And why don't I start with Beatriz, since we're here, asking you what is the most significant circular economy trend or development which you are seeing at the moment in your region?
Thank you very much, Mika. I would like to first thank you and Sitra and FIESP, Mr. Calil Curi Filho, for the invitation to UNEP as the coordination mechanism for the LAC Circular Economy Coalition to be present here. And tell for the ones that don't know the coalition is a government-led initiative. So we have 18 countries that are member countries from the Latin American coalition. We have a steering committee with 6 countries leading the way of the coalition. Our presidency now is held by Peru, the government of Peru. And we have also other stakeholder members, private sector, think tanks, academia, the EU as a multilateral, multi-partner organism. So we add up to 58 members nowadays. So we try our best in the ramp up to the World Circular Economy Forum 2025 to bring the voices of Latin America to this event. So one of the most significant and impactful trends that we've seen is the increase in development and implementation of national circular economy roadmaps, strategies, policies. So the countries across the region are beginning to embed circular economy not only as part of their environmental agendas, but also a strategic approach to enhance economic resilience, industrial innovation, such as the case of Brazil, and social inclusion. So we have Brazil that launched their strategy last year, and recently, last week, their national plan. We have Peru that launched their roadmaps in March this year. Colombia that is working on a new national policy that is backed by legislation, and Costa Rica that set up an impressive number of indicators for their circular economy roadmaps and strategies. So, and also the institutionalization of other policies and cross-sector coordination. So, for example, the frameworks on extended producer responsibility is increasing in the region. We see a lot of uptake for this. And so I think that it's been recognized by our countries in the region that circular economy is a key lever to achieving the climate goals, reducing material dependency, and promoting a just transition.
Thank you, Beatriz. With Dr. Wang, we have not yet organized a full-fledged World Circular Economy Forum, but we did something together last year, a regional forum in your respective regions, and that was quite impactful, and we will continue collaboration. But what is the most significant circular economy trend you see at the moment in your region?
Thank you.
Hello. Thank you very much, Mika. I think it's, while I'm taking the floor first, my name is Wong Sok, the Head of Environment Division of ASEAN Secretariat. I just would like to extend my appreciation to Sitra and the Finland government that provide ASEAN Secretariat opportunity to join you all here today. I think this not only for that, Sitra also used to support us for the ASEAN circular economy aspect as well from 2022, that is the initiative start, and then the way also support us for the organizing of ASEAN Circular Economy Forum. And also the government of Finland through the embassy to Jakarta, to Indonesia and ASEAN. I think this is quite an important moment, but also I would like to express my sincere appreciation to the Brazilian government and also to the organizing committee that made this important event together for us to learn and to share and also prepare for our future together. I think this not only that, but I mean as an upcoming COP presidency that's going to be in Belém, this will be also opportunity that we can transform something more important collectively. Let me start. I think I cannot see much from ASEAN people. Let me introduce quick about ASEAN. ASEAN is an association of Southeast Asian nations that was established 8 August 1967. That is in Bangkok, Thailand, and currently consists of 10 countries. It includes Brunei, Darussalam, Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, PDO, Malaysia, Myanmar, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam, and soon with Timor-Leste as well. So with that, ASEAN run by the ASEAN Charter. I think ASEAN Charter is the firm foundation in achieving ASEAN community by providing legal status, institutional framework for ASEAN. It codifies ASEAN norm, rule, value, and clear target for ASEAN and present accountability and compliance. With that, I think I just want to highlight one of the declaration of ASEAN about aim and purpose for ASEAN for you to understand about the value what ASEAN doing. One of 7 goal and aim and purpose, which is to accelerate economic growth, social progression, cultural development in the region through joint endeavor in the spirit of equality partnership in order to strengthen the foundation of prosperity, peaceful community of Southeast Asian nation. With that, ASEAN Charter call for ASEAN to develop friendly relations, mutual benefit dialogue, cooperation, and partnership with country and sub-regional, regional, international organization and institution. ASEAN external relations set out the framework for ASEAN to widen and deepen a relation with external parties through conferment of the formal status of dialogue partner, sectoral dialogue partner, development partner, as well as comprehensive strategic partnership. Why I highlight this? With Brazil, it's important. ASEAN and Brazil, Brazil part of ASEAN sectoral dialogue partner. Brazil was conferred the status of sectoral dialogue partner of ASEAN by the 55 ASEAN ministerial meeting on the 3rd August 2022 in Phnom Penh, Cambodia. ASEAN-Brazil joint sectoral dialogue committee meeting also convened annually, and the ASEAN-Brazil sectoral dialogue partnership with the cooperation area for 2024 to 2028 was established. So I mean with that, not only Brazil, EU also one of our important dialogue partner, and also Germany and many other partners. With that, this is the way ASEAN work together with all partners in order to join hands and address whatever emerging challenge and also for economic growth in the region. So with that, I think the most important and significant of ASEAN circular economy have been transformed, importantly from different approach, early stage from the solid waste management, recycle, and so on and so forth. Later on, the idea was well introduced in 2018, broadly in ASEAN region and ASEAN member state. So this including some of the gap analysis of plastic circularity in 2019 with the support of EU, and also that the way we come up also with the number of policy documents including ASEAN Circular Economic Framework for ASEAN Economic Community, We also established ASEAN circular economic platform, and we convene regularly, annually, ASEAN Circular Economic Forum. So this not only for some of the country may organize that, but ASEAN organize regularly, annually, this sort of ASEAN Circular Economic Forum to bring all the key players, not only from the public sector, but private sector, industrial, and businesses and think tanks to talk about this sort of circular economy. So I think we have also a number of guiding document and policy in place and the governance to make better for ASEAN with that sort of circular economy. And with that, I think ASEAN member states have already established circular economy sort of policy document guiding and also institutional aspect in place. I mean, throughout the first 2 days, we also learned from some of the speakers highlight about some of the countries in ASEAN like Indonesia, Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam, and so on and so forth. That have been set up some of the things on the circular economy. And I think with that, it's not enough. Circular economy have been applied in various sectors as well. I mean, for the circular economic framework, we introduced this into the at least 3 sectors, agriculture, energy, and transport sector, and also work with the national level, subnational level, and city. I end here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Wong. Now from Southeast Asia to Africa, over to Davina.
The trends. Well, thank you again for inviting us. As you mentioned, in 2022, we set up the Africa Circular Economy Facility, but let me backtrack a bit. In 2019, the African Development Bank was invited to the World Circular Economy Forum in Helsinki. When you invited us, we actually didn't have a circular economy program. And so to see the journey since really shows to the opportunity therein. Let me start by saying that really associate with the knowledge that Jamie from the IFC has given around private sector mobilization and trying to get capital where the resource is. So in terms of trends for the African continent, it's really difficult to pick one. If you go to our markets, they are teeming with ideas. Listen, we are the continent that is going to be growing in 2050 with 25% of the global workforce. So there's huge ideas on our markets. But the issue becomes, they're in the markets, they for sure, because they're in the markets, they are own takers of their solutions. The issue is how do you scale these? So that Africa, with its resources, is able to have a dent on the poverty numbers. Because it's really shocking that you have the biggest workforce, very capable, and I think the numbers are 35% of all the natural resources that are needed for the next transitions, whether it's in energy or digital space. And you still have populations that are growing in poverty. So that needs to turn around. And so in terms of trends, we see a lot of trends in natural-based solutions. We see a lot in the digital space. Many of you might have heard of the mobile solutions, digital mobile solutions. In Kenya, there's something called the M-Pesa. It took off because of those teeming energy and businesses in the markets. They know when they can make an opportunity. And so by trying to drive business, I think the missing link is knowledge, is data, is visibility. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Davina. And now over to Bernard and about the recent developments and trends in Europe.
Thank you, Mika. And well, first I would like to start, if you allow me, by really thanking and congratulating Sitra and the Brazilian organization of this forum. It's really a pleasure to be here. Thanks to the city of Sao Paulo and Brazil for hosting us in this beautiful city and country. A few weeks ago, our Commissioner for Climate Action was in town and engaging with your government. As you know, we really commend the leadership of Brazil on circular economy, but also on climate change. And you know that the EU stands on your side in the perspective of COP30 to achieve ambitious outcomes of this COP. So again, congratulations to Brazil and for all these commitments. So I think they definitely deserve a big round of applause. Then moving to your question, first, the circular economy is more than ever a policy priority for the EU. It has been a priority for us ever since 2015, when we adopted the first continental action plan on circular economy in the world, the Circular Economy Action Plan in Europe. And we had a second Circular Economy Action Plan. We now have circular economy ratified by the new Commission as a central element of our new competitiveness agenda and of the new European Clean Industrial Deal. So this is a good sign. I think this is showing that circular economy is moving from the environment corner where it was to become part of the economic mainstream. And it's very much about transforming our economy, so that it is where it needs to be now. We know that circular economy is crucial to achieve our ambition to be the first climate neutral continent by 2050. But we also know that circular economy, as you highlighted in your keynote speech, is crucial for our competitiveness, our strategic autonomy, and our resilience. We have implemented over the last few years the 30 measures included in our second Circular Economy Action Plan, developing a very comprehensive set of policies and regulation. These cover the whole life cycle of products, from the design up to the end of life of products, and they have quite diversified. We have banned single-use plastics. We have introduced a right to repair. So if my cell phone breaks tomorrow, I can go to the producer to say, no, I don't want to buy a new one. I want you, and you have an obligation to help me repair this phone. We have adopted measures to tackle medium businesses. So we are very willing to work with partners in the room, and beyond, to project these standards and trying to define together ambitious circularity standards for the world trade. Secondly, with this arsenal of policies and regulations, we are making progress, but we recognize it is too slow. The EU consumes 8 billion tons of materials every year. 11.8% of this comes from recycling. This is well above the world average of 6.9%, but this is still very insufficient. And our plans, we aim at doubling this rate by 2030. We have achieved some modest decoupling over the last few years. We see that our consumption of materials remains rather stable or slightly decreasing, while our economy continues to grow. We are also sourcing close to 50% of some critical metals for our recycling, and more than 50% of our municipal waste is recycled. I think in the interest of time, I will not dwell much more. We know that we need to still move faster, and we need a paradigm shift for that. So we are developing a new Circular Economy Act to create a single market for secondary raw materials and make secondary raw materials more attractive and competitive vis-à-vis virgin materials. I think I will end up in the interest of time and hand back to you.
Thank you, Bernard. Indeed, the flood of activities and actions being listed, we have almost exhausted the time given to us with my first question. I had 5 of them, so let's see how we go forward. Let's try and go a bit more in practice. So we know that the regional alliances and other organizations are important. So what do you consider the main contribution this type of a structure can give to the transition in your regions? Over to Beatrice.
So for us is the fact that we act as a multi-stakeholder platform to advance circular economy solutions. So our focus on aligning policy, technical cooperation, and financing efforts to actually help the countries to achieve and advance on this on circular economy. Helping foster policy coherence, building capacities, and connect actors across sectors and countries. So we have been doing this by creating spaces for structured dialogue through our working groups to map the region's challenges, identifying solutions, and exchange good practices. So a strong example is our 2023 peer-to-peer processes in collaboration with the European Union to the Switch to Green facility, where we had 7 countries in the region exchange their experiences in developing national circular economy strategies and roadmaps and implementing them. And after this effort, we actually developed a regional guidelines, which is based on Citra's guidelines, to support others to embark on improving processes, which we'll be launching tomorrow. So more on that tomorrow.
Thank you very much, also for the precise answer. Dr. Wong, over to you.
Thank you. I think we learned, I think one other thing I would like to confirm here, I think I learned a lot from this sort of 2-day event. One other thing I can really state is a very useful event. We learned from the last year's sort of World Circular Economy Forum, and this year very different because this to capture the dynamic of development, including the innovation, technology, and so on. This very much, you know, in line with whatever the challenge and development happen around. I think this is the great opportunity that we are together. Second thing that I learned from that sort of 2-day, I think circular economy is still broad in terms of concept, theory, and practice. I mean, very different from one approach to another, depend upon the sector, depend on the people focus. So it's very broad. And also, involve multi sort of stakeholder, different sort of player and actor here and there. Therefore, from ASEAN side, we still see this sort of, you know, continuous improvement and adaptive learning and also the dialogue. This is very most important because this is a new area of development. It cannot be one fit for all. We have to learn and continuous dialogue our conversation. Particularly, we also focus on the stakeholder engagement and also partnership development. This is the core business of ASEAN, to engage with all. The third part that I would like to highlight specifically, we learn also from the opportunity ASEAN-Brazil cooperation, ASEAN and EU cooperation, and particularly with the new center of the EU as a Circular Economy Research Center. That could be something, an opportunity that we can do together. And also with the also other partner, ASEAN Secretariat and ASEAN member state, looking forward for cooperation with you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wong. Over to Davina about what do you see as the main contribution of the African Circular Economy Alliance to facilitate the transition?
Right. So the Africa Circular Economy Alliance, let me say, when we took it over as a host, there were 3 countries that were in the alliance. It's now grown to 15 countries. It has 15 other strategic members, the EU part of, Finland part of, UNEP part of. And the idea is to really rally all entities to have a space to exchange of these ideas, and that's really what the platform does. Oftentimes, as financiers, we don't originate these ideas. They come from the networks. And so we found the Alliance to be a good source of business ideas as the African Development Bank. And what we really would want to see is to have regional economic blocks be part of this. We would want to see development public banks as in the associations, as there is already an Africa Association of Development Financial Institutions, to be part of this broad alliance. What that will do, it will open up a space for engagement. I think organizing is key, partnership is key for these alliances to grow. Thank you.
Thank you. Bernard, what do you see as the EU's main contribution to promoting the circular economy in practice?
Thank you, Mika. Well, first to say that it is extremely satisfactory to see all the progress in the room. We really are discussing here a positive agenda to tackle the triple planetary crisis and economic development. And in such a challenging geopolitical environment, to see the collaborative spirit in the room is extremely gratifying. So we will all leave Sao Paulo with a very, very strong mood. Well, first, the EU in this complex geopolitical environment really believes in rules-based international trade, international cooperation, and multilateral governance. In this turbulent time, we are deepening and strengthening our trade relationship with several partners in the world. We have concluded over the last 6 months agreements with Mexico, with Mercosur and Switzerland. We have launched a new clean trade and investment partnership with South Africa, and we aim to conclude an ambitious free trade agreement with India by the end of this year. So meaning we want to cooperate with partners on trade as the best way to global prosperity within planetary boundaries. Secondly, we mobilize as well our international partnership policy to work with partners in advancing this agenda. We know that we will not achieve our objectives working alone. So we are engaged with all your regional organizations, and it's a pleasure to work with you. Over the last 3 years, the EU has mobilized more than 3 billion euros in grant funding to support more than 100 countries and these regions worldwide. We are preparing new, and that's important to say, new Global Gateway, and Global Gateway is our international strategy for that Global Gateway investment flagship on circular economy with countries in the region, notably with Mexico, with Guatemala, and with the Caribbeans, which we hope to announce at the upcoming summit between the EU and the Community of Latin America and Caribbean states. And last but not least, I should mention the EU Circular Economy Resource Center, which has been mentioned already, which is an initiative we are extremely proud of, that we announced last year at the World Circular Economy Forum in Brussels, and that is now up and running and fully in motion. That's a very important tool for us that helps us and that allows us to mobilize the EU know-how, both in public institutions and private institutions, to engage with partners around the world to advance this agenda. So we look forward to more cooperation with you. Many of these initiatives that I mentioned will be showcased in the accelerator sessions that we are organizing with our partners tomorrow and the day after tomorrow in the EU arena in Hotel Tivoli. So please take note, Hotel Tivoli. Yeah. That's the place to be tomorrow.
Thanks, Bernard. After this commercial break, we continue our discussions. Let's do the final round. I told you about the two experts exchanging ideas, and you are the experts of the regions. And I would like to ask you, what have you learned from the other regions? If not here, but in your discussions with other regional alliances. Beatrice, over to you.
Okay. Can I say something different?
Sure.
Can we be flexible?
I am very flexible.
No, of course, that what we see and what we have experienced with the great collaboration with the African Alliance and GACERE, the Global Alliance on Circular Economy and Resource Efficiency, is that we can bring together and expand this collaboration through our participation here during these days on the World Circular Economy Forum. So I think that the key word is cooperation and collaboration. We cannot do this alone, and this is our experience working with the other regions. But if you want, I can talk about challenges.
Thank you, Beatrice. And Dr. Wong, if you want to answer to some other point or raise other point, then I asked to go ahead.
Thank you. I think I saw the thumbs up. That's why I tried to also inject early point already. Maybe can skip me. Yeah. Thank you.
Beatrice, sorry, Davina.
Well, I think what we've seen, and I think the power of this forum is getting all of us together in really what we want to see is that we bring the private sector on board to learn about the opportunities therein. And I don't think we really need to reinvent the wheel. On the African continent, we have the Great Green Wall, that is a belt around the Sahara Desert that covers 22 countries. That initiative has a lot of many entities that have come in to regenerate nature, to create jobs, and to ensure that the desert doesn't come down. So it is through those efforts that we can then find resources to regenerate nature and to also create jobs for the next generation. Thanks.
Thank you, Davina. Bernard?
Thank you, Mika. Well, this forum has showed once again that we have a lot to learn from each other. So that's something we have learned, is that we have a lot to learn from each other. And that there is no one-size-fits-all, obviously. There are multiple recipes. And many of the economies of our partner countries in your regions are much more circular and have obviously a much lower footprint than us. We have learned as well that, well, in affluent societies, we need to move beyond consumerism, obviously. Happiness is not correlated to higher consumption above a certain level. Happiness first depends on access to basic services, of course, for all. Happiness depends on our social networks. Happiness depends on our connection with nature, not on the level of our personal consumption. So that's something we know and we learn as well from your regions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me conclude this discussion with the notion that circular economy certainly needs to be contextualized and regionalized, but there still is something we can learn from region to another. Thank you very much. A big hand to our panelists.
Thank you all for this amazing panel. Thank you. Important discussions, analysis, reflections, and a foresight view, right? But we are reaching the end of our forum with some exciting news. I have really exciting news to share with you, and that's why I want to invite Kari and Nicoletta from European Union Circular Economy Resource Center. Please. Thank you. Kari, what's the European Union Circular Economy Resource Center and how it accelerates the circular economy globally?
Thank you for the question. So it's an honor to present the EU Circular Economy Resource Center for the first time here in Brazil. The center is a joint initiative of the European Commission, as Bernard mentioned, of Sitra and the Finnish Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Belgian Development Agency, ENABEL. It aims to accelerate the global circular economy by increasing uptake of sound and inclusive circular economy policies and business models globally. The center serves as a partnership and collaboration platform between the EU and the partner countries to ensure that the circular economy can advance fast enough and on a large scale enough. Like Davina mentioned, we really need international collaboration in circular economy. We have also witnessed during this forum that the circular economy is good for business, but also it creates a lot of innovations, decent jobs, strong and resilient economies, and it's good obviously for the environment. And like Bernard Grappe also mentioned, it is also a key component of the European Union strategies aimed at achieving a competitive, climate-neutral, resource-efficient economy as, for example, Clean Industrial Deal and Global Gateway present. Circularity reduces dependencies by recovering, reusing, recycling, and retaining materials in the economy and making strategic materials more affordable and accessible to EU industries. So we really need new partnerships in these times. Only with international collaboration, the circular economy can advance fast enough. So the Centre aims to build these partnerships and collaboration between Europe and partner countries around the world. The Centre will work with partner countries in Latin America and the Caribbean, Africa and Asia and the Pacific, and obviously Europe's eastern and southern neighborhood as well. And the Centre will operate through 3 main labs. One of them is Knowledge Lab, focused on mobilizing EU circular economy know-how and learnings to meet the needs of partner countries. There's also Policy Lab that will support decision makers in adjusting policies to create an enabling environment for the circular economy. And finally, Business Lab helps enterprises and organizations to adapt circular economy business models and create circular ecosystems. Through these labs, we will offer collaboration support, peer-to-peer learnings, even technical assistance and expertise support. In conclusion, the EU CIRC is not just a resource center. It is a catalyst for change. By linking the supply of circular economy partnerships to the demand, we are building a future of prosperity and resilience for everyone. So we're very excited about the center itself.
Great, Kari, thank you. And Nicoleta, what can we expect from it to the future, thinking of the future?
Thank you, Juliana. Let me just start by saying that it's a real pleasure for me to be here today on behalf of NRL. We're very happy to work with Sitra on the implementation of the EU Circular Economy Resource Center. And today we have actually 3 main announcements from the EU CIRC. First of all, our landing page is officially online, so you can consult the page for any information that is related to the center mission, to its activities, service offer, and most importantly, information on how to contact us, to get in touch with us and with the team. Secondly, Kari was mentioning and underlining the importance of international collaboration, international partnership, and what we want to do with the Business Lab and with the other labs is to create peer-to-peer exchanges between the EU and partner country stakeholders, and that's why we will have our first peer-to-peer exchange in the framework of the World Circular Economy Forum. It is organized tomorrow in collaboration with Team Finland, and it is titled Business Exchange for New Circular Markets. And thirdly, we're very honored to announce the launch of the Circular Awards by the EU CIRC that will be celebrated every year at the World Circular Economy Forum. There are 2 types of awards. The first one is the Policy Implementation Award that is now actually open for application and will recognize the leading role of a partner organization, of a public organization and a partner organization in driving the implementation of national circular economy policies since 2020. The winner will receive actually a comprehensive package that consists of training and coaching, visibility opportunity at the next World Circular Economy Forum, but also promotion and other visibility opportunities. So I invite you all to consult the EU CIRC page for more information on how to apply. The second type are the business awards. They aim to celebrate circular economy businesses that are adopting circular economy models in partner countries, in eligible partner countries. And we are also very happy to announce that one of the award will celebrate the achievement and the leadership of young women entrepreneurs. The award will be launched in October 2025. So again, stay tuned for more information.
Fantastic. Thank you, Nicoleta. Thanks, Matt. And we still have more exciting news to share, so I would like to invite to join us Nelson Pereira dos Reis, Vice President of FIESP and Director of Sustainable Development Department. Over the past few months, FIESP, CNE, and the Center have joined forces to promote circular economy initiatives in the Latin America industry. Kari, could you tell us a bit more about how this collaboration unfolded?
Thank you very much. So businesses have been very important in WCF during the years. So in the forums, we have showcased a lot of business cases that have a great potential. Also, in Finland, Sitra has made playbooks for different industries towards circular economy. And also, we have showcased most interesting companies in Finland several times, but also during our WCF Africa edition, also in African continent as well. And last year in Brussels, we also showcased most interesting companies that tackle biodiversity loss through circular economy. So when we heard about this potential that we could also showcase together here in Latin America business cases, so we're very excited about FIESP and CNI taking this initiative.
And Kari, I believe that's exactly what Nelson is going to share with us now, right? Nelson, please.
I speak in Portuguese, I'm sorry.
Appreciate that.
Ok, boa tarde a todos. Uau, estamos chegando ao encerramento dessa jornada muito rica. Nós tivemos aqui brilhantes palestrantes, panelistas, que nos trouxeram suas experiências, seus conhecimentos, e nos deixaram aqui um legado muito importante aqui para a continuidade de toda essa jornada em busca da circularidade na economia. A indústria, economia circular, é o caminho estratégico, não só para melhorar a sua performance em termos de uso racional dos recursos, de redução dos seus custos, mas também atender às demandas cada vez maiores de toda a sociedade em busca da sustentabilidade e também contribuindo para o âmbito das mudanças do clima. Nesse sentido, a FIESP, junto com a CNI, fez uma chamada pública no Brasil e em toda a América Latina e Caribe, de casos de economia circular, das práticas empresariais no tema. Para nossa surpresa, o resultado foi excelente. Nós tivemos mais de 200 casos selecionados. Eles foram selecionados por uma equipe de especialistas da academia, do próprio Sitra, que trouxeram, então, esses casos aqui. Eles podem ser consultados aqui no nosso site, e dentro desses sites, nós, então, vamos fazer aqui um anúncio, que é o lançamento do e-book, Economia Circular, Melhores Práticas. Esse também, temos um QR Code, que pode ser acessado, e nós esperamos que todos esses casos sirvam de inspiração para a indústria em geral, para toda a comunidade, para aproveitar e aprender sobre como essas práticas vieram, se tornaram realidades e que podem ser usadas por toda a comunidade industrial ao redor do mundo.
É incrível isso, porque comunicar as melhores práticas acaba inspirando outras empresas, negócios a seguirem a circularidade, não é mesmo, Nelson?
Esse é o principal objetivo, não é? Eu acho que é a colaboração, a solidariedade, não é? Economia circular, ela tem que andar junto com a emoção e a solidariedade, porque nós procuramos, no final, a sustentabilidade do nosso mundo, não é? Tão desafiador. E as práticas que essas empresas apresentam, disponibilizando, muitas delas, seus segredos, né? Suas invenções, né? Disponibilizando para que sejam compartilhados com toda a sociedade, com todas as outras empresas.
Muito bom. E, Nelson, eu gostaria de perguntar sobre a premiação. Queria pergunta para a Nicoleta. Could you tell us a bit more about this 2025 award?
Yes, so one of the objectives of the EU Circ Business Lab is that to spotlight and celebrate innovative circular businesses and practices to inspire actually a wider adoption of circular economy practices worldwide. And in this spirit, for this year, we joined forces with FIESP and CNE to identify an outstanding circular economy business in the region to receive the Business Award Latin America and Caribbean 2025. The response to the call was really impressive. More than 290 companies submitted their circular economy practices. After an initial screening, 42 companies were shortlisted and then evaluated by a joint jury composed by experts of FIESP, CNE, and the EU Circ Business Lab. The top 5 finalists were then invited for a final interview where they had the opportunity to showcase their project, their practices, to talk about their innovative approaches, the social and environmental impact of their circular business model, as well as the replicability of their project and the relevance to the EU market partnership. And that's why we're very happy today to be able to announce the winner of the Business Award LAC 2025.
Wow. And so the moment has arrived, right? Let's discover the company that has stood out the most in applying the principles of the circular economy and is already an inspiration for all of us and for the entire industry. Congratulations, Davi Noronha, CEO da Energy Source. Take a picture of you. Oh, congratulations. This is the Oscar of the circularity. Now, Davi, tell us how important is the recognition at this moment for your company, for the future. Let's hear from you.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Yeah.
I'm deeply grateful. This is a very refreshing moment for us because in the front line, right, in the real world, in the business field, is very challenging. We face every day giants, right, to speak about entrepreneurship. But when we are talking about circular economy, urban mining, transition, then we have an extra challenge. And to receive this recognition is something very, very unique and important for us, for our journey. I prepared something to avoid mistakes. On behalf of Energy Source team, I'm deeply honored to receive this business award. These recognition trainers inspire us to keep a steadfast position in our mission for a better future in a sustainable world through the circular economy solutions. It's possible. This is possible. I'm grateful to God to bring us here and guiding us our journey. My family, in especial my wife, is here.
Oh.
She's the one that held a side of me in this hard moment. My friends in Energy Source, we have a friendship collaboration in this innovation, research, everything is a friendship environmental. And your commitment with your mission is what makes the difference. Special thanks for you, CIRC, Enable, Sitra, CNI, FIESP, and all the partners involved in supporting the circular transition. This award belongs to our entire team and motivates us to keep innovating with purpose, integrity. Let's work together to build this better future through a circular economy solution. Thank you.
Congratulations once again. Thank you all, and please, Kari, I'd like to ask you to stay with us. Thank you, Nelson. Thank you, Nicoleta. Yeah, please, Kari, stay with us, because we have more news. I like news. A highly expected announcement. So, where will be the next edition of WCEF? Where it's going to take place? Keep your eyes on the screen. Let's see the video. Congratulations, India! Fantastic, Kari. I'd like to ask, please join us, Nilesh Kumar, Joint Secretary from the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. I want to ask you, what is the state of circular economy in India? What are the biggest developments, opportunities, and gaps?
Well, first of all, thank you very much.
Welcome.
And thank you for this opportunity to have India on this board here to be the next host of the WCEF 2026. And I must also appreciate the current hosts, Brazil and the FIESP, and also Sitra, who have been really instrumental in organizing this fantastic event here. So congratulations once again. As far as the status of circular economy in a country like India, well, with our civilization of so many millenniums, we have circular economy built into our, bloodstreams in a way. I think so in the last session, we had an Indian origin lady also, Anita, I think so, talking about how we live circular economy in our daily lives. However, in the last few years or last millennia, after the modern economy that has come into being, the linear economy that it is, circular economy has to be dealt with in a particular manner. In our country, we definitely have had a long history of dealing with waste. We had the waste rules and various waste rules for various categories coming in around, started from 1989, but then we had quite a few of them in 2016, running up to 2022. And it is in 2022 that we started the Extended Producer Responsibility Framework. And this is an online framework that we worked on. There are various EPR rules for various waste sector streams. And then we have an online framework on which now, it was started in 2022, But now we have 5 sectors, categories being covered there. And in just around 2.5 years, we have more than 61,000 PIBOs, that is producers, importers, and brand owners registered there, and more than 4,000 recyclers registered there. So that's the ecosystem that has come up very fast, and it is really transacting into a lot of EPR certificates. So that's what is happening on the ground. Coming to Brazil, I'll also like to mention that India was also a proud host of the G20 in 2023. And among the various themes that we had of the Environment and Climate Sustainability Working Group, one of the themes, of the 4 themes, was related to circular economy. And we worked on EPR, we worked on circular bioeconomy, and we have also worked on circularity in steel sector. And then we also launched a resource efficiency and circular economy industry coalition. So that has been carried forward since we are in Brazil. Last year, Brazil had the G20 presidency. It also had a theme related to circular economy. So while we have a lot going on in India, and we had certain takes during our G20, the circular economy at the Global Forum has also been going on. And probably this is another global forum which is fantastic, doing fantastic in the circular economy. So looking forward to have you all there in India in 2026.
And how WCEF will accelerate the circular economy in India and more widely in Asia?
Well, as we have seen again in the last session here, from all the continents we had, from ASEAN, Mr. Dang, from African continent, then also from the Latin America, quite a few representatives talking about how circular economy is and what they have gained from this WCEF here in Brazil. Asia is, of course, world's largest continent. It has the largest population, more than around 60% of the population, and also cornering more than 50% or around 50% of the GDP of the globe. And therefore, and then Asia is also house to a lot of countries from the global south. We are all developing. And since we are going to be developing, we are going to be using more material.
Yeah.
And if we are going to be using more material, the concept of circularity really comes into being. And it's very important. So we look forward that when we are taking this WCEF into Asia again, although it was there in 2018 in Japan, but when we are going to take it to Asia, into a developing country like India, and the Southern Asia and the ASEAN, which is also represented here, there will be a lot to kind of collaborate with these countries, share a lot of knowledge. Certain things, certain elements that we think our presidency could bring on board, and that will be very, very useful, not only for the South Asia and the Asian countries, but also for the global community at large, is something called sustainable lifestyles. We have talked about it. Our Honorable Prime Minister has also coined this idea of mission life during the Glasgow COP in 2021. And last year, during the United Nations Environment Assembly, the promotion of some sustainable lifestyle, a resolution was passed unanimously. So we look forward to have the sustainability and the sustainable lifestyle built into the circular economy work that we are going to do during the next year in 2026. So that's another area. And one more area that I would like to talk about is about the innovation and the involvement of youth. It's just a coincidence that while we were having the waste management rules coming up in 2016, we also started something called Startup India in 2016. And in the last few years, what we have seen is there has been a great, a spurt of innovation and startups. Not just startups in all the other areas, you have a lot of startups in IT, etc. But the waste sector has seen a real jump in our country. In last 3 years, between 2022 and 23, we have seen, and in fact 2020 to 2024, we have seen a jump of almost 55 times growth of startups in India. So there are MSMEs, there are big industries, but then having startups and having innovation is something that we look forward to really leveraging with this opportunity to host the WCEF 2026.
Thank you. And Kari, what are Sitra expectations for the future collaboration?
Thank you. So indeed, India is a powerhouse globally and regionally, so we are very excited to have India to host the forum. And we are also expecting a lot of discussion about innovation, as you pointed out. India has a strong ICT sector as well, and tech hubs, etc. So raising these topics are important, but also the social inclusion and transition point of views as well. And India is, of course, member of GAZERA, which is important as well from the circular economy point of view. So, of course, we are inviting everybody to join us in the path and make the exciting program together, as always, and make the systemic change for circularity. And finally, hopefully also our president and friends will join us in India and take the baton to India. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much. Congratulations again. I hope to be there next year. Thank you all.
You're most welcome.
Thank you. Thanks. Now I will ask you to put on your headset because I will switch in Portuguese. Acho que eu posso começar assim. Eu acredito que essa seja uma das melhores definições para os desafios da transição global para uma economia circular. Compartilhar conhecimento, compartilhar tecnologias, boas práticas, permite que nações acelerem a adoção de modelos sustentáveis, reduzindo o desperdício, promovendo o uso eficiente de recursos naturais. Um mundo melhor para todos nós somente acontece de forma colaborativa com pensamento coletivo, que foi isso que a gente viu aqui. Foi isso que aconteceu nesses 2 dias de WCEF 2025. Para vocês terem uma ideia, para que o maior fórum mundial de economia circular fosse realizado nesses 2 dias, a gente envolveu mais de 28 parceiros. Dentre eles, os 5 hosts desse evento, com uma equipe de quase 60 pessoas. Quase 60 pessoas que trabalharam mais de 365 dias desenvolvendo, estudando, reunindo, produzindo todo o conteúdo. E essa estrutura incrível foi para vocês. Com a ajuda importantíssima dos leads e co-leads das sessões e dos 114 palestrantes que estiveram nesses palcos. Só na produção desses 2 dias, em que a gente esteve aqui junto, foram 238 horas de montagem, com mais de 500 pessoas envolvidas na construção de cenários, estandes, no desenvolvimento das artes gráficas, filmes, catering, comida deliciosa, né? Tradução, transmissão, tantos outros detalhes, muitos. Uma verdadeira seleção jogando junto para a economia circular, fechar esse evento com um gol de placa. Foram 3 palcos, 16 sessões, 1.203 inscritos para o evento presencial e 7.428 inscritos para acompanhar o evento online, representando quase 150 países. E tudo isso aqui no meio do verde do Parque do Ibirapuera, que nos recebeu de braços abertos nesses 2 dias. Um verdadeiro exemplo da necessidade de ter a natureza no nosso dia a dia. Por isso agora eu peço licença a vocês para quebrar o protocolo dessa cerimônia. Peço licença e desculpas pela minha emoção que está vindo à tona em função dessa minha paixão que tenho pela circularidade. E quero convidar agora ao palco parte dessa equipe que trabalhou incansavelmente durante um ano para que esse espetáculo acontecesse e acontecesse para vocês. Venham todos. Tá difícil. Tá lindo, tá lindo. Por favor, venham. Esse palco é de vocês. Venham todos. Obrigada a todos que estiveram aqui presencialmente no Brasil e a todos que nos acompanham online. E ao som de Ari Barroso, na voz de Caetano Veloso, dois grandes nomes da música brasileira, encerramos o WCEF2025. Todos juntos, como tem que ser. E do nosso jeito, cantando, sorrindo, celebrando um mundo mais circular e de forma simbólica, devolvendo para este lindo parque essas plantas que decoraram o nosso palco. Obrigada.
Isso aqui é um pouquinho de Brasil, iaiá. Desse Brasil que canta e é feliz, feliz, feliz. É também um pouco de uma raça que não tem medo de fumaça, ai, ai, e não se entrega, não. Olha o jeito nas cadeiras que ela sabe dar. Olha só o remeleixo que ela sabe dar. Olha o jeito nas cadeiras que ela sabe dar. Olha só o remeleixo que ela sabe dar. Morena boa que me faz penar, bota a sandália de prata e vem pro samba, samba. Morena boa que me faz penar, bota a sandália de prata e vem pro samba, samba. Isso aqui é um pouquinho de Brasil, iaiá. Desse Brasil que canta e é feliz, feliz, feliz. É também um pouco de uma raça que não tem medo de fumaça, ai, ai, e não se entrega, não. Olha o jeito nas cadeiras que ela sabe dar. Olha só o remeleixo que ela sabe dar. Olha o jeito nas cadeiras que ela sabe dar. Olha só o remeleixo que ela sabe dar. Morena